On this episode of Recruiting Hell, we're back with our second episode of Escapee Edition with another real story about what it takes to escape recruiting hell. With her position eliminated by the pandemic, Jessica Bajwa took to social media for her job search and not only networked her way into an appearance on this show, but also into a job with the fabulous Francine Parham, a past connection from her time in college. We'll hear from both Jessica and Francine in our first double guest episode of Recruiting Hell. Hello and welcome to Recruiting Hell. It's great to have you with us here today for our second episode of Escapee Edition. I'm your host, Rob Conlon. I've been waiting to get this episode scheduled into the rotation for quite some time because the success stories of those who get back to work are so important to hear these days when it seems that everybody's kind of facing some hardships. Now, these bright spots are designed to help you hear what's working in the job market as it happens. And of course, to give you actionable steps from people who have succeeded in their job hunt that can apply to your own search today. As we enter 2021, it's becoming more and more apparent that the world's not really going back to normal as quickly as we'd hoped. With mask mandates across the country, across the world, cities like San Francisco in a second stay-at-home order, and of course, unemployment benefits either running low or exhausting for millions of Americans, the fires of recruiting hell have likely never burned hotter. It's my goal to help fight these rising flames with a tide of content that stretches into the new year and continues to help people the world over adapt to the new flow of job searching. The one other point we make before I wanted to get started is that recently I found a bit of data from our friends at Spotify and from Spreaker about this show and about who listens. I was really humbled to find out that there are 22 different countries around the world that have tuned into this show, some of which I have absolutely no connection to and where English is not the primary language. So to those of you in our international listener group, particularly those folks in Sydney and Sydney Mines, Canada, Zhilnya, Slovakia, or Delhi, India, I have to say it's wonderful to have you here. The world doesn't just focus on America, and I know that there are challenges in every country this year. I'm so glad you've come to be a part of the listener family here on Recruiting Hell, and I will do my best to always make sure that the job advice presented here on this show helps you, no matter where you live or what platform you might enjoy this show on. Speaking of platforms, a quick moment to ask you, subscribe to us on YouTube. We're there. Of course, you can always find us on all of the podcast platforms as well. Spotify, Apple, iTunes, Amazon Music, wherever you want to find Recruiting Hell, we are there. But if you'd really like to help the show, drop us a subscription on YouTube. It would really be a great thing. Help us get a little bit more formal when it comes to running that channel. And of course, if you actually want to see the VODs of this, it's a great way to enjoy that as well. One other minor thing before we start, there were some technical issues in the latter part of this episode. It was a connection issue. I've since diagnosed it with my system. We ran some cables and things like that over the holiday, and it seems to be rectified in this case. But if there are some audio artifacts, I do apologize for those. I believe that everything that needs to be heard in this coming episode can be heard exceptionally well with a very, very small number of exceptions. And of course, context clues can most likely help you figure that out. So on with the show. And of course, today we are joined by another excellent success story from Recruiting Hell here from the listener family. Jessica Bajwa joins us today to not only share her journey through Recruiting Hell, but we also went one level beyond with this episode. And we also welcome her employer, Francine Parham, who helped to end Jessica's journey in more ways than one. It is my pleasure to welcome you both to the show, ladies. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having us, Rob. Really excited.
I echo that. Thank you as well, Rob. I'm excited to be here.
Definitely. Well, I love episodes like this because it's, part of this is listener interaction, which is kind of cool because I know, Jessica, you were a listener for quite some time, but it's also the networking knowledge that comes out of this because we can sort of demonstrate to other people who are listening to this show what effective networking looks like. And it kind of looks like this, which is outstanding. Mm-hmm. So to kick us off here, Jess, tell us a bit about your journey to this point and how you kind of finally came to win your job hunt with Francine. And then after that, Francine, I want you to chime in and tell us a little bit more about what you do on a daily basis and the excellent work that you're involved with. So Jess, kick us off.
Thank you so much, Rob. So I actually graduated from Rutgers University May of 2019, and I felt a little burned out after college. Most people kind of went straight into the workforce, and I was like, no, I'm going to take a little break. The job market's pretty good right now, so it can wait for me for a little bit. And I had my goal set for full-time looking for work and actively trying to get out of the recruiting hell in January 2020. And in hindsight, we know now the world kind of changed in March of 2020. So during March, I was actually doing multiple interviews, and one by one, each interview got canceled week after week after week. And then those positions weren't even being filled. They were, in fact, laying off or furloughing their workers. So it was in that transitional time where everyone was trying to go remote and figure out their next steps in their company. And in September is when Francine reached out to me with a possible role. And I met Francine my senior year of college, and we had maintained a relationship since then. So really grateful for her for getting me out of the recruiting hell. And she does really amazing work.
I think that's a great lead in. Francine, what do you do, and what takes up Jess's days now?
Well, I'll let Jessica talk about that, but I'll tell you first of all what I do, and that should lead you to understand what Jessica helps and supports me in doing. So I'm Francine Parham, obviously, Francine Parham and Company, the namesake of my business. And what I do is I focus on the advancement of women and women of color into positions of leadership and authority in the workplace. So I spent a great deal of my career in corporate America, becoming an executive, a global executive. And what I decided to do when I exited the corporate America space was to continue what I do, or what I did, I should say, in the corporate world. And that was really helping what we call in corporate speak the talent agenda. So really ensuring that I had, individuals such as a Jessica, or senior, all the way from very junior individuals to very senior individuals join the organizations that I led, or the companies that I was a part of. So when I came out of the corporate sector, I said, you know what, I love that. I got a lot of success. I became known. That was my brand in the corporate world before branding was important or talked about. And I said, I'm going to do this on the outside. So I'm going to work the outside from the outside, but still work the inside. So I spend a great deal of time with corporations and organizations, really helping them with the development of their professional women and women of color. And it ranges from entry-level women all the way to executive level women, and I have programs and things of that nature that make them work on what I call the unwritten and unspoken skills of career advancement. So everything beyond or beside the technical skills that you bring, we know that those are the things that truly help you go to the next level. So anytime advancement, I'm in it, I'm on it, and I'm a part of it. So that's the work that I do.
That is outstanding, and such a worthy thing too, because we are made stronger by diversity in the workplace. We really are, and that's something that this year has taught me so much. Coming from a very homogeneous atmosphere in some of my past jobs, I have had my eyes opened to the wonderful techniques, tactics, talents that other people from other walks of life bring. I mean, it's so funny because it's just been such a gear shift for me. So that's just outstanding to hear. And I think that the most incredible thing that you mentioned in there, Francine, is that you don't just focus on the execs or the upper folks. You focus on the people who are entry level. And that is something that I think is such a missing link in a lot of today's professional success and job hunt. So that is excellent. So we have a stage set here, listener. Let's kind of dive into this journey through recruiting hell. Jess, this is kind of back to you, a little bit more of a formality, because you said you started your position in September. What exactly did you land, and how's it going?
Yeah, so me and Francine kind of curated the name for the position. She had an idea of what she was looking for, but we both agreed on a brand project manager. And each day I'm learning what that means more and more as my tasks might change. But overall, we're trying to launch a Bright Talk channel. Bright Talk is a webinar streaming service. So Francine has her own channel. I believe we can search it through Francine Parham and Company. And we are trying to curate content that we would usually do and have as in-person networking events. Obviously, the world has changed, and we want to still be able to give people that same content and give them those tools, those unwritten rules from the comfort of their own home. So we're coming up with different topics for each month that we really think are important for people that might be at a mid-career level that feel like they aren't elevating or aren't reaching their career goals. And giving them tips and tricks with great experts, panelists. We have a few sit-down conversations set up to help them navigate their career goals.
Excellent. And that sounds, again, it sounds like it's an exciting, it's not just a like type in the data kind of job. You know, you get a little bit of creativity juices flowing and things like that. And there's nothing wrong with a type in the data kind of job, but we've seen a lot of things in the work world fade away because they've been automated or they've been, you know, there's an app for that now or whatever it might be. So it's nice to hear that this is a, what I call a creative job, number one, but also one that possibly pushes a little bit on your growth and development, which is great.
Yeah, I've definitely been pushed out of my comfort zone in a really good way, and I've learned a lot in the last few months for sure.
Excellent. Well, Francine, now I want to bring you in here a little bit more because in our pre-call, when you ladies were describing how this all kind of got set up, and Jessica, you mentioned as well that you kept in contact with Francine after college. This is kind of one of those little serendipity stories. And would you two kind of explain and share with us how the relationship sort of started between you, that was kind of the networking portion that led to what you're at now?
Yeah. Well, Jessica, do you want to, you have the foundation of it, and I'll jump in.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll definitely kick it off. So as I mentioned before, I met Francine my senior year of college, and it actually was my last few weeks of college. It had to have been March of 2019, and I was graduating in May.
Wow, at the buzzer.
Yeah, right before, one of my professors had said, "Hey, I'm doing this extra credit lecture at 6 o'clock at night. Sign up if you want to come." And I'm like, I need the extra credit. I'm gonna go. And right before the lecture, I was actually reviewing my resume, and I'm like, oh my God, graduation's a few weeks away. What do I want to do? I have no clue. I feel like everyone around me has a pretty set path that they're going to follow, and I feel like I haven't figured that out yet. So I went into this lecture a little down on myself, and I really didn't know what to expect. Francine mentions that I walked in with like a baseball cap and I came in late. I don't even remember that part, but honestly, the way I used to dress in college most probably was accurate. And Francine just got up and started talking about your brand and how you can position your collegiate career into a professional career, and what people are looking for when it comes to entry-level employees, and how to navigate those first 90 days on the job, 90 days before the job. And it really opened my eyes, and it was the exact thing I needed to hear that day at that time. So I built up the courage to go up to her after her lecture, and I just thanked her, and I said, "Thank you so much for coming here and doing this, because I really needed this today." And I asked if we could connect on LinkedIn, and we did. And Francine was actually doing a 3-part lecture, so she was coming once a week for the next 3 weeks. So I made sure that the next time she was coming next week, I was there early. I stopped her. I said, "Hey, can we get a cup of coffee? I'd love to sit down with you. I have no clue what I'm doing with my life. And clearly you're an expert, and I'd love to get your insight." So that's kind of how our whole conversation started. And if Francine, you want to pick it up from there.
Yeah. Well, yes, and Jessica's exactly right. I mean, I was asked by Jessica's professor at the time to actually come in to do one of my workshops. Now, keep in mind, my workshops are not geared for collegiate students. So what I had to do was I had to kind of recraft one of my workshops. And I said, you know what, this is my gift to give back to the academic community because I usually charge. And so this was one of my gifts. And I was just encouraged because first of all, I'm always out looking for talent, and I never know where I'm going to find it. So I've always been taught as a leader to always look. And so I said, I'm thinking about some internships that I'm going to have. And I've had an intern that actually was from Jessica's school at Rutgers University join me. And I'm still looking. So I'm going to go into the space and actually see some people live versus just getting, some resumes from the college recruiting, whatever they do to get resumes through the academic channel to individuals like me who are looking to hire. So what I did was I used it as an opportunity. I used it as an opportunity to see who would I see out there. I was looking for the people that raised their hand. I was looking for the people that approached me. I was looking for the people that wanted to have a conversation and had something to say, because that tells me you're thinking. And so even though Jessica did come in late and she came in with the baseball hat and she looked like she just kind of gotten up, I'm like, I did that too. When I was in college, I remember those days, and I think they're doing this for credit. So, I totally get the mindset on this one, and it's 6 o'clock and they're here for the pizza, so I got to really make this exciting. So at the end of the day, that's what I did. And I came back 3 times, and it was great that a person like Jessica came up and she stood out. And that's, one of the things I know we're going to talk about later on, Rob, but that's what I tend to look for. So from that, I stood up in front of the class and I just said, you know what, I've got an internship that I'm offering. Here's what I'm doing. I'm going out on the road. I'm going on tour. I had a summit at the time called Sharpen Your Skills Professional Women's Advancement Summit. I know it's a mouthful, but it's a women's advancement summit. And so I said, I'm looking for someone that wants to, share in this, be an intern for me, and I'll tell you more about it. And that's how, Jessica came to the table and she joined me. She said, hey, I'm interested. I said, this isn't a paid internship. This is just a couple times. I'm going out here to do some marketing, to test the market is what I was out there to do. And she said, count me in. And I said, okay, and she was one of the few that really stood out and stood up, and the rest is history.
That is, again, it's so wonderful to hear a story like that from, Jess, you probably conveyed to us that you didn't really want to go to this. This was like, oh, I need extra credit. I might not be doing so well in this course. And it wasn't something that you necessarily wanted to do, but you made the effort anyway. And I think that's a real big, important takeaway for everybody who is listening to this show, is that you have to somewhat put yourself out there. You have to somewhat get yourself into a position that you're sort of uncomfortable with when it comes to meeting new people or doing things that you don't like to do in your job hunt. And for you, it's obviously paid off exceptionally well, because it's not only a job for you, but now you're on this show and I have a connection with Francine. There is so much that stemmed from you putting on that baseball cap, probably putting your hair in a ponytail, I'm betting, and marching off in your lounge pants to a pizza party in college to listen to a speaker for extra credit. And it's so neat that little stuff comes like that. So that's absolutely excellent. So let's fast forward a little bit more to earlier this year. I found you on LinkedIn, Jess, through a post that you made. And that was, we've mentioned that on the show before about how you always felt like those outside sales jobs disguised themselves as marketing. I really hate those, and I think you probably do as well. I don't want to put any food or any food. How about any words into your mouth as food for thought? But I would have to ask you. You got into the job market in January of 2020. Mm-hmm. Everything went to hell in a handbasket. 60 days later, what did your job search look like initially?
Yeah, so during the time between graduation and leading up to January, I was working with Francine and on the road with her.
Nice.
And through her Professional Women's Advancement Summit, I learned a lot of tools and a lot of those unspoken rules that were talked about over and over again. So I used a lot of that content in my job search during those months, whether it be revamping my personal website or adding more action words to my resume. I was using a lot of those skills that I had learned through Francine and the women at the summit to help me even before my job search. I call it my pre-job search. So once I did get on the market, I kind of had somewhat of an idea how to navigate it. I went straight onto LinkedIn. I turned on my open for jobs and letting recruiters come find me as well. And I was looking for jobs every single day. And I'd highlight the ones that I thought were interesting. And unfortunately, as an entry level, I found that every single job was saying 3+ years experience. Like, how do you expect me to get 3+ years experience if I'm barely in my 20s and I'm still just trying to figure out what I want to do? So I was applying here and there, and I get calls back from certain type of companies. And I noticed that all of them were kind of similar in the way that they had their interviewing process. And it just seemed a little sketchy to me. And they were coming up over and over again. And they were disguised as marketing agencies. And that's the kind of field I was looking to go into. I wanted to be a part of a marketing agency and work with clients. These kind of jobs disguise themselves as, yeah, we work for clients and you're going to sell the stuff for the clients. I was like, no, that's not what I'm looking for. And this was coming up over and over again in multiple cities under multiple names. And I was like, is there just a list of these companies I can go and find on the internet? I was going on Glassdoor and I felt like I wasn't getting enough information and I was getting frustrated, which is why I made that post on LinkedIn. I was asking people in my network and my friends that had recently graduated in the marketing field if this was happening to them too. And it was, but they also didn't have the answer to this question, which is what prompted me to post. And thank you for commenting, because now we've created this relationship. And I'm so happy to hear that you also had the same experience with these companies, and especially on your episode with the fake job scam. I love that episode, and it perfectly encompassed the frustration of these companies. And it really hindered my job searching experience, because then I started getting a little frustrated and tired, and I just didn't feel like looking anymore. And I had to push through, and your podcast definitely helped me with that, with all the advice that came afterwards.
Well, that's awesome. I wasn't even going to ask for the endorsement until the end. Jess, but and thank you for plugging a couple of those episodes that might be really useful to people who are going through that initial kind of crash phase of hunting for a job. I actually just ran across a woman in my current circle who was let go from a job she had been at for 3 weeks today. And it's like that, like you won, but then you lost again. It was so terrible. And I felt so bad for her. And I just can't imagine how she's feeling going back out there, looking at the types of jobs that you were looking at, Jess, to say, this just sucks. Like these aren't they're jobs, but they're jobs that take no advantage of any of your skills. You're spending all day in Home Depot hawking DirecTV or whatever it might be, or going door to door selling Spectrum cable or whatever it might be, which is really funny. Slight side story here. So there's a marketing company like that here in Milwaukee that does exactly that, as I described, with the door to door selling cable. And I can't remember what their exact name is, but I've seen them so many times. I've scrolled through LinkedIn like, it's those guys. And so sure enough, I get a knock at my door about 4 weeks ago, and I open the door and there's two guys standing there and they have the logo from this company. Oh. God, they know where I am. This is awful. That was a terrible interaction, because they would not take no for an answer, to the point where I said, get off my property, which is kind of funny. But me being a curmudgeonly old, get off my lawn kind of man aside, that's kind of what I think a lot of people face, Jess and Francine, is that a lot of people see these jobs out there and they have no interest in them or whatever it might be. So the next question I kind of want to ask is to both of you. Once you find something that is fitting, if you will, there's an interview process, obviously. So for the two of you, this interview process was probably kind of unique. How did that go from looking to help to I'm looking for a job and hey, we should team up between the two of you?
Well, do you want me to start, Jessica?
Yeah, go
Okay,
ahead.
sure. Well, from an employer perspective, as I mentioned that it's not just about looking for the job when the job is open. Okay. And I know that from, my, experience in the corporate sector. I was a zealot. I was always out talking, looking, saying, I see some potential. I can see, tell me what you do. So how do you do this? So I was always out. I always had that curious eye. And I think that that is really important when you are looking for the right talent, even if it is not the exact talent for what you need. There is an opportunity to look at what I call the other skills. So many individuals focus on, or companies focus on those technical skills, and those are important. Don't get me wrong; those things are really important. But that is not the crux of why you necessarily hire someone. You hire them for the fact that they do the technical skills. Like, you got it. You can, you read, you're a computer scientist,
Sure.
whatever it is, right? I got that. What I'm looking for, and what you're always looking for, are things such as, their ability to think through, their ability to solve a problem, their ability to be able to, create a convincing, a story or a convincing proposition to get something done on behalf of the organization or behalf of the company or whoever they're working for. Those are the things that you're always out looking for. So just as Jessica or individuals are out talking and networking with people, so should you be out doing the other thing as well. And, I've never, ever gotten a job through applying for anything. I've never applied for a job in my career. And I had a very nice career. I became ultimately a global executive in about, I want to say, it was after I left graduate school, 11 years later, I became a global executive of a company called Johnson and Johnson. Let me tell you, that was all based on me being positioned, knowing the right people, navigating, showing the skills that I had that were beyond my basic core skills. That was a given. You being able to do some of the basic stuff you went to school for, or, that about, that's a given. It's what do you bring to the table above and beyond? Okay, that's what's important. And that's what you have to go out and demonstrate consistently and constantly. And I promise, once you do those things, you start to get known, or people start to know you, or it gives you permission to start having conversations with people beyond, I'm just looking for a job. Right. And so when you're looking for a job, is not the job to find a job. Okay. I'm just saying.
There's the nugget right there.
Right. There's a nugget. And so those are the things I think about from the, the hiring manager side of it. So I guess, Jessica, I'll turn it over to you to talk a little bit about the employee side and what you're looking for, because I think that's equally important.
Yeah, I definitely learned this lesson from Francine before I even came on as a full-time employee. Something I learned from her on our time on the road. And when I was starting that application process in January, I was looking for companies that I thought would be a really good fit for me. And even if they didn't have a job posting, I was reaching out to them. I reached out to a few hiring managers and met with them and had gotten job offers, but then realized it wasn't the fit that I thought I was looking for. But it did lead me to a position that wasn't there. They created a position for me. So had I not reached out, I wouldn't have known that, one, this company does exist, two, that they are willing to carve out a position for you if you show your skills, and that you are able to go out and get what you want and get it done. just like what Francine said with the problem solving. So it's a little more difficult. You definitely have to put yourself out there. And it's something that I've been learning as time has gone on. I've definitely gotten out of my comfort zone and been a little more confident and not asking for a job, like Francine said. It could just be an introductory interview saying, hey, it might be an alumni from your school. Oh, looks like you graduated from this school. You have a really cool sounding position. I'd love to learn more about what you do on a day-to-day basis, considering a role in this industry. You're not asking for a job, you're just asking for some advice. And if you hit it off really well, they might say, hey, this position actually freed up this week, and you have a lot of the experience we're looking for. Why don't you come in and meet with us? And then it turns into this whole huge thing that when it wasn't even an application online, like Francine said, she's never applied for a job. She just networked her way in, which I think is really powerful.
Most definitely. And I think you dropped a couple little other bits in there too of, you don't have to tap the people who are necessarily closest to you. You can kind of go outside of that small circle, find those recruiters, find those connections on LinkedIn that maybe you're a second or third degree to, but also the alumni from your university. And I'm actually very fortunate. I went to a state college here in Wisconsin. I have never met somebody from UW La Crosse who has been anything less than a saint. Like, it's weird. Like I go to these events and say, oh yeah, I went to UW La Crosse. What year did you graduate? Blah, blah, blah. And they're the coolest people. And I think that that's maybe an untapped resource for listeners here, is to say, you know what, go look where you've been. And maybe even, maybe you haven't been to college, go to your high school class, go to things that are, and, a lot of times things get a bad rap for people, pinging in their old connections for like multi-level marketing stuff. Don't be that, of course. Right. I got candles to sell you. I got, here's some other, shampoo or whatever it might be, but look at those connections, build those connections, being real with those connections, I think is definitely a great thing that we can pull from that. Ladies, thank you. Jess, this one's just kind of one for you. And what was this internship that you did with Francine? Was that paid, or was it kind of just come along for the ride?
Along for the ride sort of thing. I think Francine had mentioned that earlier. We were going from city to city, doing the Professional Women's Advancement Summit. So I got to go around the country. I thought it was fun. It was a great time. And
Sure.
like I said, you couldn't put a price tag on the information I learned from Francine and the women that were there.
Gotcha. And then I guess my other question, this is something that sometimes I think a lot of people have a real hard time swallowing because it doesn't pay the bills. How is working for free? How does that feel?
For me, it was okay. I was fortunate enough that I could move back in with my parents after college, and they were willing to support me. I know a lot of people don't have that luxury, which I completely understand, but I did use that time to grow and say, hey, I'm not sitting on my butt. I'm not just chilling with my degree in my pocket and watching Netflix all day. So knowing that I was doing something with my time and something that was going to help me advance, it made me feel great. And I didn't think about the getting paid part of it at that point, because I was so early on in my career. I think I was looking more for experience and information and advice. That was the biggest thing I was looking for at that time.
Excellent. And so for those folks who are in the situation of maybe being very early in their career, it sounds like what you're doing and the awesome opportunity that Francine has that set up for you to have you kind of be this apprentice almost, I would use that word, which I think is awesome, is a really great opportunity. So if you're early in your career development, maybe that is a real opportunity to find that mentor, to find that person who's going to kind of take you along for the ride, if you will, that generous person. And, for somebody who's maybe a little bit later, that's possibly not an option because you got a mortgage and kids and whatever it might be. So yeah. There's definitely so many different ways that different people are able to find opportunities. I'm so glad that you found yours here.
So, one of the things, Rob, that is important is that, yes, as Jessica said, in her situation where she was in her life, if you will, was great. But as a individual who was a single parent in college and having internships, it was very important that I get paid. So
Yeah.
I've not done many internships where I didn't get paid, okay? Because I had family. I had someone that was depending on me, my son at the time. And so, it's just really important that you are clear with your goals and what you want, okay? Because, it's not, don't take the internship just because it's a great experience, but it's, you're not going to make any money for it. If being paid, having a salary or whatever the case may be, or whatever those other amenities are important to you, then you need to ask for that. You need to ask for that, or say, is that negotiable? Is there an opportunity? See, here's the deal, that you have an employer, such as, I'll say I'm the employer. I put it out there and I say, here's what I want. Okay. And you never come back to me and say, well, would you ever consider? Because you just think that that's the way it is. And I say, well, no, it's not. Everything is open to negotiation. So I don't care what level you are, when you take an internship, whatever you do, have that conversation to get exactly what you want out of it. And you also put your employer on notice. You let them know that, what, you're thinking about this. You let them know that you consider it, you think it's great, but here are some things that you would like to have as well to make it successful for both of you. So you can do this whether you are straight out of school, whether you've lost that job, or you want to switch careers, whatever you want to do, because you can find internships later on in your career. Doesn't have to be right out of college. You should think through and have the negotiables, and have that dialogue. It does not hurt, and it helps you make a choice, and it helps you and your employer feel more comfortable about what you are about to do and actually what they actually need you to do. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. And I think that's another great piece of information for folks who are maybe considering an internship and being like, oh, I don't know if I can swing this. I have all these responsibilities. And Francine, it's great to hear that you traveled that road. And we kind of got a 2-for-1 there of, somebody who didn't maybe have the extra responsibilities and things to carry with them, especially, when it's, a child, kids are so important. I guess the next question is sort of for you, Jess. What questions did Francine ask you kind of when you were negotiating this that made you say, this is the place I gotta be?
I don't know if it was necessarily a negotiation. It was kind of when I had asked her for coffee that one day. We allotted about a 1-hour conversation, and I just wanted to talk about what I wanted my career goals to look like, because I was so unsure at that point in my life. And I knew she was an expert. So I just wanted to pick her brain on career development and what steps should I take next. The biggest thing for me is my life was so structured up until that point. I always say, from first grade, you go to second grade. From second grade, you go to third grade. And my whole life, it was, okay, now you do this. You graduate high school, you go to college. You finish college, and you're like, I get to do whatever I want. I don't know what that is. I mean, my whole life I've been told, this is what you're going to do next. So go do that next. And I didn't question it. I said, yeah, sure. Okay, cool. Let's do it. So at this point, I'm like, oh, I don't know what I want to do. And I just wanted to pick her brain about that. That's what the topic of the conversation was. And it was just both of us going back and forth. And I think we were sitting at Barnes and Nobles for about 3+ hours, Francine. And this is when she told me about how she wanted to go on this nationwide speaking tour called the Professional Women's Advancement Summit. And her goals for what she wanted the event to look like and what she wanted involved in it. And we were both just talking about career goals. And at the end, she goes, is that something you might be interested in? And I was like, yeah, definitely. I got to travel the country. I got to meet amazing women, and a lot of my beliefs and values aligned with what Francine was trying to do. And that's a really big thing for me. I always wanted to be a part of something bigger, and I just didn't know how to get involved. That was one thing I wish I had done in my collegiate career that I just never got the chance to do. So this was my opportunity to be like, I want to go out and I want to meet these amazing people and help them. And I'm going to learn along the way. I'm going to help advance women, and I'm also going to advance as a woman. And I just thought it was a great opportunity I could not pass up. So it wasn't necessarily a negotiation rather than a conversation, and both realizing that, yeah, this could work for us.
Gotcha. Now, Francine, I'm going to alter the question from this because, Jess said it wasn't a negotiation. You've mentioned that you've done a couple internships in the past, that you've offered these to people and things like that.
Mhm.
When this college girl comes up to you with her hair in a ponytail and through a baseball cap, and what I guess is made you say, that one is one I want to put some effort into. This one is worth pursuing, and things like that.
What made me, say I want to know more about this young woman is that I said that there's so many, I had a lot of people that helped me along the way. I'm a fundamental believer that no one does anything by themselves. I don't care. They're like, oh, I got this promotion. No, you didn't. There were like 5 or 10 people behind you that helped position you, help talk about you, help do something to get you there. So that is a premise that I fundamentally believe in, and I have practiced it forever. And I also believe in the fact that because I've been so, I've been so fortunate, and it wasn't just me, like it didn't happen to be in the right place at the right time and all that good stuff. That was not the case. I, said that I wanted to, let me backtrack. Back in the formative part of my life, my father told me a long time ago, he used to tell me to listen. He said, listen, Francine, listen and see what's happening. Listen and pay attention to what people are doing. And,
Nice.
Don't always be the first person that speaks up, because you may not have anything that anyone wants to hear. Right. And so I really learned the importance of that. And I carried that into my, my college days. I carried that into my first job. I carried that on to, myself in terms of being this person who helps women advance. And it was really taking, really intentionally listening and finding and seeking. So when I met an individual like Jessica, I was seasoned in the practice of listening, and seeking and finding and discovering, really. And I call, I see a lot of women, I see a lot of younger women. I see women in general, holistically women of color as well, who are in the formative stages of their careers in many aspects. They may have spent a great deal of time on a job, but they're still in the formative part of their, their career to get to the next level. And it's my ability to be able to assess that. And so when I see that, I know that that is someone that is worth investing my time in. And I meet a lot of women. I can't even begin to tell you that. And when I have the conversation with them, and my first question is though, so tell me, who you are and what your name is, and I'm happy to know that. But my next question to you is, so what do you want to do next? Like, what are you doing? Like, what are you trying to do to advance? That's all I care about. If you got a great answer, count me in. If you haven't thought about it, or you don't have a great answer, and you're like, well, I don't kind of know, I'm like, I have no time to really help you get there necessarily. I have time to help you get there if you got some thinking behind that. So that 3-hour conversation that Jessica mentioned was a conversation where I was intrigued by her ability to think through what she wanted to do, and I wanted to help her. So while she's telling me all this, the other side of my brain is like, well, how can I help her get there? Because no one does anything alone, right? I haven't had my 3rd Starbucks cafe mocha skinny, whatever I get, okay, like I got a lot to do. I really have a lot to do, but I'm really impressed with what she brings to the table, the core talent. So what I'm talking about is the core of what you have from a talent perspective, because I meet a lot of people who've got a lot of skills. They're this, they're that, they've accomplished this, or accomplished that. And my role is usually, when I hire them or I want them to be a part of my team, is to strip away all of that, because that doesn't matter to me. Because I can give you my resume. My resume could be 3 or 4 pages. I've been in the business for a little bit of time, right? And so at the end of the day, but I'm looking for certain things, and I'm looking for your ability to problem solve. I'm looking for your ability to think through how to solve a problem that you don't know how to solve. So Jessica and I, when we were sitting down, she was actually spending time with me, whether she knew it or not, solving her own problem. I was only asking her a series of questions. I was probing her, I was giving her some insight, but I wanted to see how she was going to solve getting a job, because that's what we were there for. Like I said, I was on my third cafe mocha, I'm looking at her saying, okay, where are we going with this, right? And so she was taking me through that. And then I said to myself, here's someone I think that has some core skills, because I can teach her all the other stuff. I want to know what she brings to the table from a core skill set. And I think that's what all people who are hiring are looking for. There's some jobs like they want to know, can you code? Can you do this? Can you, do you understand this concept or whatever? But it's so much bigger than that. And that's what brings you into a company. So that's what got me intrigued about the work that I could help Jessica do, because it's not just positioning her for my job and the current job I have. My role is to position her for the next job, because what I learned in my experience in corporate America, I'm only as good as the people that I hire and promote, not the people that I keep, but the people that I hire and promote. So I'm hoping that Jessica will have my job and she'll maybe get another bigger job I have, or maybe she'll go on and do something else. But I want the echo on LinkedIn or whomever she happens to be talking about to say I was a good developer of her, to get her to the next level. It's not about the job she's doing now, because she knows I'm pushing her right now to do a lot of different things that she hasn't done. She mentioned that before, because I'm positioning her for the next job. And that's what a good manager does. A good manager, a leader of people.
You'll say that's a leader, Francine. That's a leader. A leader helps elevate. A leader helps promote. A leader helps get everything, everybody up. A leader is a tide that lifts all the boats, which is great. Mm-hmm. All right, this is the second to last question I'm going to ask you, ladies, and it's a 1 or 2 word answer from each of you.
Uh-oh.
And Jess, I want you to start with this. What's the number one thing that you feel made you stand out from other applicants in your job hunt? So I want you to answer first, and then Francine, I want you to tell us what that number one thing is for Jessica. It doesn't have to be the same thing. Jess, what do you think yours is?
I would say mine was confidence, and as well as understanding my vulnerability. When I did approach Francine, I was very vulnerable at the time, and I wasn't the most confident person. Before that, I would never have raised my hand or gone up to her afterwards. It was something inside me pushing me to say, you don't know where this is going to go, so go find out. If you don't do it, you'll never know. So having the confidence to go and just see what happens, because you never know where a connection is going to take you. I never thought I'd be on a podcast, and here I am today. So you never know where the journey is going to take you. So what's the saying? You miss every shot you don't take.
Absolutely.
And I 100% agree with that.
All right, Francine, she's on the other foot. Is she accurate with I think vulnerability and confidence, or is there something else that you think?
I agree with that. This is a great conversation, because I'm learning a lot about Jessica. Like, I'm learning more than, thank you, Rob.
You're welcome.
You bring out the best in us.
Podcasting
right?
is like this great thing. Go ahead.
Love this. Okay, have us back. No, different topic, right?
5 years different later. Topic, but
yes. I would say that what really intrigued me about Jessica is her curiosity. That was the thing that was most intriguing to me, because I said to her, listen, I'm this entrepreneur. I don't have everything figured out. And if you're looking for an organization where you come in and you've got your employee badge waiting for you and all your collateral and, all that stuff on the table, I'm going to send it to your house. Guess what? I'm not, right. I'm going to be very honest with you in terms of what I have and what I offer. And here it is. And so I would say I appreciated that from Jessica in terms of saying, well, okay, and I say the honesty. I say the honesty because, I'm very honest and very real about what I do and what I will do and what I won't do. Okay. I make no, I don't try to mask it because it's like, I'm just, it's not worth it. And so it's like Jessica talking about that marketing kind of telesales thing. Why would you set someone up like that? That's bad business. It's just bad as a human being. But anyway, so at the end of the day, I appreciated her saying, you know what, I'm going to give it a try. And you don't have it all figured out, but here's the things that you offer sound kind of cool, Francine. And we can figure this out together. So I appreciated that. And I saw that in Jessica because she came to me in the very beginning and said, I want to have a career. I want to do great things, like not like maybe you, but I want to have that, be in that sphere. And I want to figure out how to best do it. And so will you help me? And I'm like, absolutely. Why would I not? You're working your rear off to try to do this. And I appreciate that because that's what I had to do. And look at how it got me,
Right.
So I'm there to help lift as well. And that's what, my intention is.
Amazing. And I think, Jess, that's a pretty strong indictment of your work ethic and all sorts of great things about who you are as a person. So high praise. And Francine, thanks for telling her she's right, but also telling her she's a little bit, she's got some other skills there. And I think that there are a lot of people out in the world who have excellently similar skill sets and personality traits that Jess does. They're honest, they're hardworking, they're humble, they're all these good things. And showing that to people and being vulnerable, which I think is still the number one thing, because again, that's how you wound up on this podcast, my friend, is you were vulnerable and you said, I have this problem. What the heck is going on with these stupid jobs? Can somebody help me understand? And that, I think, is one of the most key things for your job hunt. Now, the last question I'm going to go into here for myself is, I always struggle with this, and Jess, you touched on it a bit before. It has to do with the show, obviously. Jess, what portions of the show do you want to credit that give you the new success and on tactics and things like that you think other folks who are in similar situations to you should either go back and listen to, or maybe we should touch on again in the future?
Yeah, so I think a big theme in the conversation we had today was leveraging LinkedIn in different ways. And you don't realize how expansive the LinkedIn network is. I know I was talking about this with Francine. We were talking about goal setting. My goal for 2020 was, I'm going to go to all of these these networking events. I'm going to go meet people, shake hands. That sounds terrifying now. Do not want to shake anyone's hand. Do not want to be in front of people. So what do? I leveraged LinkedIn and kind of tried to build my network that way. And that's kind of the world we're living in right now. One big advice, or two or three, actually, I got so much from your podcast that I think I have a little note from every little episode. But one of the big ones was Resume 101. Because I had gone to a bunch of resume clinics at school where they brought people in. Some people say, write an objective, don't write an objective. They don't care, they do care. So getting that expertise from someone and really having it mapped out for you and explained helped me a lot in how I reworked my resume, as well as what you call your 50-cent approach.
Yes.
That you add your 2 cents to 25 different posts. Is that what it was?
Right. It's called, yep. You put your 2 cents on 25 posts on LinkedIn. I can't take credit for coining that phrase. No pun intended there. But at the same time, it's something that has really worked for me. It's increased my LinkedIn reach by literally more than 50% this year. Like, it's hundreds of people. It's crazy cool. But continue, please, and then we'll get into a bit of a wrap up here.
Yeah, and I mean, you did that to me. You were like, "Hey, Jess had the same thing. I have a podcast. You should check it out." And I was like, "Oh, okay, this guy's got a podcast. Let's see if he's a real deal or not." And I tuned in to the first episode, and I was like, "That was awesome." And I went through 10 episodes in like 2 days.
Wow.
It was on when I was cleaning. Like, yeah, I had it. If I was taking the dog for a walk, it was on. If I'm doing the laundry, it's on. So I definitely got a lot from your podcast, and a bunch of little tidbits along the way have really helped me. And in the future, I'd love to talk more about different tools you can use with LinkedIn. We always talk about networking, networking, networking. But what does that really look like on LinkedIn? I think we talked about a few things, such as leveraging your alumni association, or maybe some third connections that you have somewhat of a relationship with, that you might be able to tap into. Or, like you said, the 50 cent approach, where you start commenting on posts. And I know that's something that I'm planning on working on in 2021, is creating content for LinkedIn and commenting on those posts to have that engaging conversation with people.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Yeah.
Well, ladies, there's the last question of the day belongs to you two, and you get to ask, not necessarily me, but you get to say, hey, what did we miss? What did we miss about job hunting that you maybe know that the rest of the audience and maybe the LinkedIn world and wherever else this winds up, that they need to know? Kind of the one thing that we missed from each of you. Go ahead, whichever of you would like to lead off.
I'm not sure. Francine,
Yeah.
do you want to take this
Yeah.
one? I'll piggyback off you.
I was in LinkedIn before LinkedIn was popular, just because it was, I felt I couldn't climb my way out of Facebook. Like, things kept happening, and I take nothing away from Facebook, Instagram, any of those other things, because I just felt like I need order and calm. Maybe it's my corporate background. I'm like, I need structure. I don't know. And I was just like, I went into LinkedIn and I said, how do I really leverage LinkedIn? And I would say that one of the things I thought about was what was really my message. And so when I go in to connect with people I find fascinating, another trick I would just say is that, there's a section in there where you can send them a direct message. So a lot of people will hit that little connect button, they connect it, and they just like, you pop up in my feed, and I'm like, who the hell are you? Like, why am I talking to you? Right. But there is a section, there's a other tab that you click on, and you click on it and you get to send someone a note. And I think the characters, I don't know how long, 100 and something, 300 characters you get. So it would be a quick note. I tell you, I have met so many interesting people by telling them just like kind of what I do, and it's real quick, and I say, I would ask that you please consider. Humbleness is a great thing. Like, never assume that anyone needs to connect with you because you got something cool to say. Because see, there are 5 other people that have something cool to say, just like what you said, right? So It's really important to be humble and to ask about that. So I would say, really thinking through what you want to say before you go say it is really, really important. And that will get more people to connect with you directly. And because that's how I reach directly out to a lot of folks, just to say, I found it, please connect with me. I would like to share more of my work with you. I'm not selling anything. I'm just saying I want to share more of the work that I do. And voila, it happens. So really thinking through your message.
That's a really good one, Francine. That's a really good one. Jess, you muted a little bit there, I think, but there you go. Thought we were going to lose your tidbit here. Go ahead. What's the one thing you'd like to add to the listener base here, in the same way Francine did?
I guess mine's a little different for the listener base.
That's good.
The thing that I loved about this podcast and this community is knowing that there were people like me out there that were sitting in recruiting hell and boiling from the fire of recruiting hell. Knowing that people were going through the same struggles I was going through, and I wasn't alone. In my community of people that are recently graduated, a lot of them are posting on social media, hey, I got this job, hey, I got this promotion. But they're never talking about the journey that got them there, or the struggles that they went through to get to where they are now. So having a community, an open and honest community like this, was really helpful for me, and I bet really helpful for the listener base as well, knowing that there are people out there that are willing to help you, and willing to help you advance, and you're not alone. And one day, very soon in the future, you will not be in recruiting hell anymore.
That is so awesome. And again, I think that fits so
That's,
in with the show because, you know, we are all here temporarily. And I think that's one of my marketing whiz friends said to me, you know, Rob, your listener base kind of is self-extinguishing. I'm like, good. Like if people get a job, they maybe don't listen to your show anymore. And I hope they do, because we talk about promotion stuff too. But I think that the fact that people need to realize that they're not alone, number one, Jess, is a huge thing. And number two, and both of you touched on this time, is that asking for help is a sign of strength, not a sign of weakness. And when we ask for help, we are showing more strength than we possibly know. So that's just excellent. I want to thank you both so much for spending the last hour with us here today. It was just a blast. You two are just some of the top people I've met on LinkedIn through this entire endeavor this year. And I just want to thank you so much for being here today. And again, there were a lot of firsts. This is our first double guest episode, which is really cool. It's also the first episode where I have this snazzy chroma key background, which is a lot of fun. But
love it.
I know it is fun. It's a little, kind of got that red carpet look a little bit. You know, they got the logos on that thing when people walking by in fancy dresses. But as we close up, ladies, where can our listeners find you both personally and professionally if they'd like to hear more from you? Jess, you first.
Yeah, like I said, my goal for 2020/2021 is advancing on LinkedIn. That's the best way to find me, way to reach me. So my full name, Jessica Bajwa, that's Bajwa, right on LinkedIn. So would love to hear from you guys.
Excellent. Francine, your turn to work.
Yeah, for me, you know, I echo that. I am in a couple places that I really do get back to people. No, I'm just kidding. I do get back to the majority of the people that reach out to me. But if you really want to connect with me, you know, first thing, I am in LinkedIn. I'm very active. So it's Francine Parham, you know, very simple. And the other place is that if you want to, you know, if you have something you want to say and you don't want to put it on LinkedIn, connect with me and my email address. So it's email@francineparham.com. Just shout it out. Say, I heard what you talked about on, you know, Rob's show. And here's what I have a question, or I want to know something or whatever. And I'm more than happy to see what I can help you with.
Excellent. Well, that is just so generous of you, Francine. And a lot of our guests do that, to say, connect with me. I want to help you. I want to do what I can.
Absolutely.
And from both of you, thank you so much. That's going to wrap us up here for today.
I just wanted to chime in real quick.
Go ahead, Jess. Go ahead.
I'm going to put a little plug in for me and Francine, if you don't mind.
Please do. Don't let me. I gave you the plug opportunity. Come on, where can I find
Yes, but I wanted the combined one now.
Okay. Gotcha. Then that's
so
on a bad host for not giving you the combined one. Go aheid.
Go ahead.
No, that's okay. So we will be launching our Bright Talk page. So that's brighttalk.com. I believe /Francine Parham, but the best way is to look in the search bar. We're launching our page, and each month we're going to have curated content that's based around a certain theme, whether it be goal setting, networking. What else do we got, Francine?
We have
corporate
branding, corporate culture, organizational advocacy, the economics of women advancing in the workplace, right? I mean, tons. We have a content calendar that is amazing. And she, down here, is going to be leading a big piece of it.
That is awesome. That is so awesome, ladies. So again, that website again, Jess and Francine, brighttalk.com.
Brighttalk.com.
And then search.
Yeah, and you can Francine Parham, like /Francine Parham. We'll be loading it up. We'll have a huge kickoff in January around all the content. We have our Professional Women's Advancement Summit that we just did in October. We're going global, and we're going to do it in October of 2021. So global, guys. So we're looking forward to doing this across the world. We're 100% focused on advancing women and women of color in the workplace. And Rob, you're invited to be a part of it because we need not only allies, we need accomplices, we need everybody. So we're gonna count you in. I got you on record now.
Well, yes,
you said thank you.
And if there is a way that I can help, please let me know. That's what this whole endeavor is about, helping build people and helping get things going. So excellent. Well, ladies, that is all we have for today. And listeners, thank you so much for sticking with us. Francine and Jess have been just amazing guests, and it's I think we can be very proud to say this is probably one of the best episodes we've ever put out. Closing out for us here at Recruiting Hell, a reminder that our free job hunting guide is available at recruitinghell.com. Again, recruiting-hell.com. I do have it on the front page, and I found out the other day when I was showing it to a friend of mine who's a marketing expert that that link was broken. So if you tried that in the past, you might want to give it another click again, get to that page that gives you the guide and things like that. Click that button. It'll take you there, get you 6 strategies to help end your job hunt for good. And I truly do hope that that guide is valuable to you in your job hunt to give you the tools to set up a great journey for you and a great strategy. So for more from the show, you can, of course, find our blog, our social media accounts, show notes, and links to both our TeePublic and our Patreon page at recruiting-hell.com to help support your job hunt and, of course, support the show and the work that this show does. Recruiting Hell is a production of Westport Studios and is proudly made in Wisconsin. Lastly, please kindly rate our show on your favorite podcast app. Subscribe to us everywhere absolutely possible, especially on YouTube. We could really use your help there. And if you have feedback, please send it along either via our website or to the Recruiting Hell podcast at gmail.com. As always, a big thank you to Purple Planet for our music and you, the listener, for tuning in. I'm Rob Conlon, and until we meet again, keep moving forward with your job hunt and your self-betterment. It's a marathon, not a sprint, and Recruiting Hell will be here to help you keep pace.